feel that pain inside you, it's hot, it's angry, and it's bright. And it's the love you feel for America's most companionable podcast, The Pod People. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and ding dang it, my darn intelligence slider got stuck on 12% again.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? I'm Ben Sheets.
Nicht wahr.
Ghost in the hell? It's me, Cleveland Mosher.
Ghost. I don't know why that one got me so good.
But I was about 5 minutes into the movie and I said, that's my name. And I wrote it down on my notes app because I was the only person in the theater, so I could actually pull my phone out, which was sick. Not that I really felt like I needed to with this movie, but...
Hell yeah. Well, Cleve is back after missing the doo-doo that was Presents last week. That's okay, Cleve. You didn't miss much.
I'm out here dodging bullets left and right.
Out here dodging doo-doo bullets. But we're all back. The boys are back together to talk about yet another brand new movie. 2025 new horror films keep rolling in. Ben's drinking from a jar of dirt.
Dirt jar, Ben.
Dirt jar.
Dirt jar.
People who are
extra
watching
brown today.
Yeah.
Honestly, I made this batch with cherries, and it only tasted like cherries. So I poured a bottle of ginger ale in there. And now it tastes like ginger.
I made this batch with cherries, and it just tasted like dirt. I know, like, it probably sounds like I'm just making fun from a distance, because I do have a lot of jokes about your maca stuff. I know it sounds like I'm probably maching you a lot, but
it's
I am cheering on your dirt journey. I think
it's very good, actually.
It's fucking yerba, not matcha. Get your fucking...
Yeah, matcha is fucking gross. It's all, like, chalky. Ew.
Get your weird South American beverages straight. Anyway.
I thought it was yerba matcha. Or is that yerba mate?
Yerba mate.
Yeah, yerba mate.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, what a fun diversion. We're here to talk about Companion. It's the brand new... actually, directorial debut of Drew Hancock, executive produced by Zach Kreger of Barbarian fame, starring Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, and a nice little supporting cast of fun character actors.
I think it's worth noting that it's his film direction debut, but he has directed a shitload of television.
And written a lot of television as well.
Yeah.
Some really bad shit too. I was looking. He wrote a couple of those Fred movies. You know, the YouTuber with the high pitched voice, God. Fred.
No,
he wrote the third one of it. Was like an early YouTube thing. It was just like a dude.
His whole gimmick was he was like a child who had a really high voice, or like a teenager with a swoosh haircut, like everyone did back in that era.
Yeah, and he just pitched his voice way up, so it was like super high pitched and obnoxious, like really annoying. Like, but one of those like really early like big YouTube stars or whatever.
He'll start somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So Drew Hancock wrote a couple of it. He wrote some of the TV show, and he wrote the Fred 3: Camp Fred, which has an average rating of 2.1 stars out of 10 on IMDb.
Whoa.
So.
Oh God, he wrote the Spike TV VGA Video Game Awards for 2008.
Hell yeah!
Whoa!
Roll Tide, let's go.
Whoa!
One of the podcasts I watch was looking back at some of those old Spike TV Video Game Awards, and they are the most Spike TV ass shit you can imagine. Like, the winners would be awarded by naked ladies with body paint corresponding to the winning game or whatever.
Are you saying this is a pro or is a con? Because that sounds sick. Am I missing something, or like?
Well, it was that like
body paint is a
TV sleeves all over it.
I think that's pretty sick, if you ask me, but I don't know.
Well, anyway, this is the directorial debut, feature-length directorial debut of Drew Hancock. Apparently, originally, this film was supposed to be directed by Zach Kreger, but he bowed out, I guess because the studio wanted to sort of make this Drew Hancock's directorial debut. But, I mean, it's been pretty heavily marketed as, like, from the sick, twisted minds that brought you Barbarian. And,
I can see why he wanted it.
Yeah, and
The
I
tone
think
is dead on for him.
tonally they are quite similar. So obviously, Ben and I had a chance to talk a little bit about it already when we were on our way home. We liked it. Cleve,
Yeah,
how did you feel about it? We don't know.
Honestly, like coming into this conversation with all the criticism about like his TV stuff, I was getting a little more and more worried because, like, I don't know, I was sitting through the film being like, I could really see Tisa and Ben going either way on this, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Hell yeah.
I'm really keen to talk about it with you guys.
Can we go ahead and do a blanket spoilers, like right off the bat? Like,
great idea.
Obviously, like this is a movie that would be best going in blind. I think the marketing has definitely spoiled some elements already, but maybe there's people who are listening to this that have completely missed all of that stuff. So
there was at least one person in our theater who I guess had not seen the trailers for this because he loudly vocalized when they revealed the twist. But we'll get into that. But yeah, Ben, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to do the same thing. If you've seen the second trailer for this movie, you kind of know the whole premise. But if you haven't, and this movie seems interesting to you, then I say check it out blind before listening because, frankly, even though the second trailer reveals what the movie's about, the movie itself kind of treats that as like a first act twist. And I honestly sort of wish that I had gone into the movie not knowing. I kind of wish they hadn't marketed it like that. So spoiler warnings ahead, but moving on from there, I will be the first one to publicly admit that Cleveland and I were wrong about this one in our predictions. We were wrong about this. Ben called it from very early on, and Cleveland and I were like, no, I don't know where you're getting that from, and we are eating crow.
Yeah.
Here on the
I don't want
podcast.
to stoke up Ben's ego too much, but there has been like sort of a chain of little Ben redemptions I've noticed lately. The Hard Eyes trailer is another one where that first one came out and Tisa and I are kind of like, I don't know, but like the second trailer, like I think I'm starting to get like your points on it. I mean, again, I'm not gonna see that one in the theaters. I won't be there for that episode, but I don't know. Even still, like I think that you're catching some sort of wavelength right now, Ben. I don't know what it is.
Not about Wolfman though. Not about Wolfman.
No, definitely not about Wolfman.
What's right on Wolfman, according to everyone else online and alive, basically. Everyone hates that movie except you two.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what people think.
I will say, yes, I was correct. And you guys were very dismissive when I said Android on the prediction episode, so I didn't go into it much more than that. But with that first trailer, I was doing the Pepe Sylvia, strings in my head and connecting the dots, and I was like, you know what? I think this is an Android movie. And you know what?
And you were right. I definitely don't think it was as obvious as it maybe was for you based off just that first trailer, but boy, in the second trailer they sure do let you know. So the for those who are listening at this point, the premise basically is Sophie Thatcher plays an android, a robot, a companion bot, basically like a sentient sex doll for Jack Quaid, and when they're on sort of like a little friends getaway in this remote billionaire's house for a weekend, Jack Quaid jailbreaks her software and basically sort of reprograms her so she will murder this old Russian billionaire pervert so they can steal all of his money. Sort of becomes a comedy of errors.
Yes. And, you mentioned how, again, the second trailer kind of spoiled the twist of her being a robot or an android or whatever. and that's very true. And I feel like going in completely blind, I think would have been an even stronger experience than kind of knowing that.
Absolutely.
But it's funny how much they flubbed that. You know, like the second trailer shows it. The main poster has her with white eyes, which doesn't tell you too much, but there's an implication there. And the funniest one is Zach Krager, you know, produced this movie. He's been hyping it up on social media, on Instagram. He put in a story, a promo for this movie saying, "Companion is amazing, go in blind." And then in the background behind that text was the second trailer. It's like, come on, man.
They did that same shit for Strange Darling, where like in the actual trailer they had like a pull quote from like I don't even remember who it was. It's like Kevin Smith or something. It was like, or Mike Flanagan maybe. It was like, go in completely blind. It's like, bro, you're using this in the trailer. I already have like, I cannot go in blind. Like, I already have expectations based around this.
It's certainly like a small amount of why I tend to avoid trailers where possible. You know, just in general, I prefer seeing things like on the movie's terms, but can't always, you know, it's part of life. But yeah, like I was very lucky with Barbarian, for instance. Like I did, as mentioned, I think on that episode, like I did manage to not see a single trailer or hear anything about it or anything.
Me too, actually. That one, that one came
lucky.
out like totally under the radar, though. Like I don't even think I saw a trailer for that before Barbarian.
A bunch of trailers. They were showing them. Maybe we just zoned them out because it was kind of a generic looking trailer.
Yeah, I don't really remember the trailers for that. I remember you going to see it first before us and being like, y'all have to see Barbarian. We have to cover Barbarian for the podcast. I'm like, I don't know what Barbarian is. So it's like, that one definitely felt like more of a surprise all across the board. Well, because in this movie, they do kind of do the reveal that Sophie Thatcher is a robot in kind of the same place that Bill Skarsgård gets killed in Barbarian, and they do the cut to Justin Long on California One. Like it's paced kind of similarly.
Yeah.
So it's like I do sort of I wish that
much
was
like Barbarian. Like I mentioned after the movie to you, Tease, but I'm really glad that wasn't really the only twist we got here. It is a very twisty and turny sort of movie. It's very unpredictable, much like Barbarian. And I think that's one of its strongest aspects, is it really keeps you on your toes and you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, it's predictable in some sense. Well, I mean, in the very first scene, it kind of lays out where the movie's going to end up, right?
Sure.
It's with Sophie Thatcher's narration, because like the first scene is we see her and Jack Quaid like meeting in the grocery store. They have like a meet cute where he like drops a bunch of oranges and then they laugh about it. And it's, you know, it's your typical kind of rom-com sort of meet cute, which we find out later, you know, it's fake. It's an implanted memory that he chose from like a list of things, which is fun. But, you know, she has this kind of little monologue that is then also repeated at the end of the movie, where she talks about, you know, people live their lives like in a black cloud, and only every now and then like do we have a moment of clarity and see the world for what it is, but it's the infrequency of those moments that makes them so special, you know, that makes you feel alive. And like I've experienced that twice in my life. The first was the day I met Josh, and the second was the day I killed him. So like the movie starts with that, so we sort of know, like it sort of like puts that card on the table. It's like, this is going to end with her killing him, but what is the crazy turn of events that's going to get us to that point?
Very confident. I love it.
Yeah, and I like that too. And for how they lay that out, the actual like series of events is, like Ben said, like very unpredictable and lots of like kind of like oh shit moments, fun oh shit moments, you know,
that are like well set up, and it's like, yeah, you could see them coming. And I'm sure there's ones here or there that either of all of us have. and or didn't. Certainly for me, I think there are one or two obvious ones that I didn't see coming and thought was very cute. Again, that like we talk about all the time, but like that's how you do a good setup, right? Like it's not about not seeing it coming; it's about the reward of it coming being satisfying, and they do this very well. Innuendo, unintentional but funny. um, uh,
I would like to briefly address the Turing test in the room, and I do not mean this in a derogatory sense, but for me, this movie very much feels like a sort of B movie version of Ex Machina. Thematically, I think it's very similar, and even in some of its setting, in sort of like this remote, a billionaire's house in the woods. You've got this kind of megalomaniacal, like, sex pervert, with like these sort of grand designs, and then an artificial intelligence basically developing its own sentience and coming to terms with that and violently overthrowing its
Yeah, I mean,
oppressors.
it definitely feels like a comedic riff on the same material.
in terms of tone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why
I don't mind
I don't mean that. I don't mean that derogatorily.
I think it. Yeah, I think again, it carves its own lanes in different ways, and I think ultimately those two movies, are about different things. Especially thematically.
Sure. Yeah, I see it sort of along the same lines. The comparison isn't as tight to something as, say, The Substance, but I still see some parallels with Verhoeven in that, like, the themes are all concepts that have been explored pretty heavily in films before, but it just does such a great job of exploring them loudly.
Yeah.
That, I very much appreciate. But I do see what you mean. Like, it is saturated, it's over the top, there's a lot that's played for laughs, there's a lot of gore. So, like, yeah, I'm with that. I'm with it. I think just with the especially like all is positive.
There's no type of pretense of it being like an art house movie or anything like that. Like I feel like the budget for this was probably not huge. And
my nickname for this movie is Terminate Her.
Hell yeah. I think the initial rug pull here, right? We're talking about like the first twist again. I think they do a great job if someone is going in blind, kind of setting up a false sense of what the movie is with that opening scene and like the lovey-dovey sort of like first meeting scene. I think that was really well executed. And I do want to mention as an aside, the first trailer had a good bit tying that together with they use, how they always kind of talk about from the blank of this movie or whatever. I love in the first trailer how it says from the studio that brought you The Notebook. Because
did it really? I don't know if I don't know if I ever noticed that.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Someone going to this movie with the expectation of like a Notebook sort of movie is like what you want, right? Like that's the rug pull you want.
That's how they should have marketed it entirely.
So I want to ask you guys about this because I have a little funny thing to note about this in terms of viewing experience. Is I saw this movie in an empty theater. I went on a 7:30 on a Thursday, so no one else was in there. Asterisk on that. But when I was sitting outside on the steps after the movie, I saw a couple go in, and I was just like, "Oh, y'all seeing Companion?" They were like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, it's great." But I just think it was really funny. They were doing like a couples night for that movie, and I'm just like, like sitting there giggling to myself over that.
Bad first date movie.
Yeah, or great, man. Like rip off the Band-Aid. I say, like
one of those things. Well, I know, Ben, you have a story about going with an ex-girlfriend to see Gone Girl for a date.
Like, yeah, she chose it, and because she had seen it and I hadn't. And at the end of the movie, she just looks at me and starts staring at me. It's like,
what do you want here?
So
this sort of feels like a lesser version of that.
I found myself missing the audience participation in this film, because there are a few times in this movie where a decent number of times where I was like laughing out loud, and it just, I don't know, there's something about like being in the center of an empty movie theater and like laughing aloud to yourself that just makes you feel like a dingbat. And it was really
like
missing
fucking,
other people being there to also laugh and
like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, just sitting in the theater, just cackling by like with everyone else. Just
that was me, baby. Like, yeah, it was weird. So you said there was a guy who was like making weird noises and stuff too.
Yeah,
like,
some good audience reactions, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like I feel. I mean, it wasn't a huge audience. Like, we also went to see it at like 7 on a Thursday.
In Dolby.
But I mean, yeah, there were probably, I don't know, maybe a dozen people in the theater, maybe a little bit more than that. And I feel like you and I were probably laughing the loudest, Ben. I don't feel like I heard anybody else like laugh as like overtly as we did, but there was like one person who, when they do the reveal, like after she's killed the billionaire and she's kind of like freaking out and she's covered in blood, and he says, "Iris, go to sleep," and like her eyes like go white like that, where they get like the full reveal that she's an android. There's one guy in the theater who went, "Oh, damn."
Awesome.
I was like, yeah, this dude has not seen any trailers. Like, maybe he saw the poster. Maybe he just thinks Sophie Thatcher is hot. Like, I don't know why. Like, how he's brought himself to this movie without like knowing what it's about. But like,
that rules. I'm so happy for him. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of him.
Yes, no, correct. Yeah. I was jealous of him in that moment too, where I'm like, man, he was actually surprised by that.
Yeah,
I wish I got that little bit of.
I love the movies. I love the movies so much, dude.
I know, dude.
God damn.
Me too.
That's so sick.
Me too. Yeah, well, you know, sort of going off of the joke of like using this as a first date movie or whatever. It's like, similarly to The Substance, like it does have a pretty, you know, heavy-handed on the nose sort of like feminist sort of message, where it's, you know, very much about like being owned by a man. You know, there's a lot of talk about like what she's quote unquote for, you know, like her purpose and stuff is to like be an object of pleasure for men or whatever. So it's like it is kind of on the nose in the same way The Substance is. I don't think it beats you over the head with it quite as much, but that allows for, you know, a lot of Schadenfreude, you know, getting to see her sort of like gradually wreak vengeance on this I mean, really one man who is doing all of this to her.
And like I've said before, like it's okay for a movie to be kind of shallow in its themes if it's unpredictable and fun and fast paced. And this movie ticks all of those boxes. So like, who cares really ultimately that like the message here is pretty obvious.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just make a good wheel, right?
And I think it's got a pretty snappy script too. It's like I didn't think any of those moments, like none of it made me roll my eyes. You know, none of it made me be like, oh yeah, of course, you know.
There was like one moment where like I almost rolled my eyes and then started laughing, because I think that they got the tone so right. Because if the line had been delivered seriously, I would have found it really annoying, or even as a joke in the wrong hands. It's specifically like when they're talking about their robot couples, and one of the characters says, "Don't be robophobic." I swear, in any other like movie or delivered at the wrong moment, I would have hated that line. But because like of just how insufferably funny that character is supposed to be, it worked. It worked really well, and I found myself laughing.
Well, I think a big credit to that, and a few other lines, honestly, like especially like some of Jack Quaid's monologuing near the end. I think a big credit should go towards the cast and the supporting cast here, because they execute some line delivery that elevates the material for sure.
And the tone is so consistently understood along all of those performances too, that you can really see that, like, I forget the director's name, but like I think that they must have had like a really good dynamic across each other, because I think everyone who was on set for that movie understood the assignment, and that's just so nice to have. And yeah, just really truly, you're right, like elevated by those like killer performances. Like
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, the characters are all supposed to be, like a particular brand of kind of like insufferable millennial, So it's like the kind of like, I don't know, annoying sort of like online dialogue didn't really bother me too much because it makes sense to be coming out of these characters' mouths. It makes sense for them to be talking like that. And you're not really supposed to like any of them either. So the things that they do that are annoying and obnoxious, like, I think work in the movie's favor.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, some of them are still pretty likable. Like Lucas Gage and Harvey Guillen are pretty. They're the lesser evils in the movie, I think.
They have
They're
great
they're
texture
pretty
because
likable,
like
yeah.
like I found myself like pretty consistently kind of like doing a pendulum swing on whether or not I liked them or thought they were just the worst people in the world, and I appreciate it. Like it really added to the fun of the back and forth and the reveals.
Yeah,
well.
they're both great, and both of them get some great moments. I will say the only character I feel like was underutilized was Sergey. I would have loved to see more of the crazy Russian billionaire in there.
Yeah, he's such a cartoon that you get the chance. But I do love that for as much as they set him up as a cartoon character, the rug pull was like on kind of set aside a lot of like preconceived perceptions that they like in film tropes like were played off of like really well, I thought.
Honestly, I think we got just about as much of him as the movie needed. I think he would have become maybe a little bit tiresome if we'd gotten too much of him, because he's like his character is like, he's the Russian billionaire who owns this big beautiful mansion out in the middle of nowhere. He is dating like one of Jack Quaid's friends or having an affair with her. It's a sugar daddy kind of situation. So she's invited all of them out there to like party for the weekend. So he's just like this old, sort of like creepy, goofy Russian pervert, refers to himself in the third person all the time, just like constantly doing like little Russian quips, just like always drinking straight from like a bottle of vodka, just like it's all so other. Like they do the thing later where they find his safe and they're like, his passcode. It's like, yeah, it's Stalin's birthday. It's the same passcode for everything. It's like, what year is this supposed to be, man?
Again, like almost annoying. Like they come right up to the fucking
It's
line
like,
on
yeah,
that
that's what I'm
shit.
saying.
Like, man,
And it's like later Jack Quaid gets a hold of his phone after he's dead because Iris has stolen his, and so he's like trying to like call somebody, and he doesn't know the passcode, and he's like, oh wait, Stalin's birthday. He's like, I don't know what the fuck Stalin's birthday is. So he's like running around the room and he finds like a biography of Stalin, is like flipping through it, like trying to find his birthday. It's like, I thought that as a gag is very funny, but at the same time it's also like, I don't know, man, retire some of these like Russian guy tropes. Like come up with some new Russian guy tropes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
At the same time, I always love
It's fun.
seeing a sleazy Russian guy character in basically any movie.
I love his look. I love the shitty mullet and the mustache and the gold chain.
Yeah.
And he he is really, really vile and sleazy. Like the scene where he like essentially tries to force himself on Iris down by the lake is like very uncomfortable. It's probably the most uncomfortable scene of the movie for me, I think. The rest of it is too much fun for me to like, feel queasy about it, but like that scene is pretty nasty. And it's like, I think like that's to the movie's credit too, because like that's sort of the inciting incident, right? Like why she kills him, and Jack Quaid like slips a knife into her pocket, like then they know that he's going to, because he's an old Russian pervert, they know he's going to like try to force himself on her. So jacks up her aggression and her self-defense like mechanisms, and like overrides the code that prevents her from doing harm. So she fucking, stabs him in the neck. Although all that stuff is revealed later. The way they play it off is like, this is before we know she's a robot, and we think that this is all just happenstance, basically.
This movie does a move over and over again that I always enjoy, where like there'll be a conversation or a scene happening, and then someone will walk in from the background or walk through the background and kind of emphasize something that you're supposed to notice. Like the first reveal with Iris after she kills Sergei, where the two guys are having a conversation, and in the background we see Sophie Thatcher come into frame, and then we see her all bloody, is fantastic. It's super well done.
I love the look of her. Like, there's this, like, one of my favorite shots in the movie is when she's tied to the chair and her eyes are white and she's covered in blood. Like, and at a distance, like she's sort of in the middle of the frame and Jack Quaid is in the foreground, and it just looks like so fucking sick. Really excellent, like, makeup. It feels like so stylized. It was those sorts of moments with the framing, or much later on where like the evil like robot is in the background. I won't spoil the scene, but like the evil robot is in the background during an intense scene where you can tell that movie was like really well storyboarded. And I think there were like multiple storyboard credits like on the film too, and it shows. Like I just really loved the blocking and framing of this movie. It's never like overstated. They don't do anything like really insane or crazy with it. Like it always just feels like a classic, really like a film from the 50s. I think a lot of it speaks to like that era of like workman cinema.
Yeah, it never draws attention to itself like overly, but it is a pretty consistently like good looking film. Well shot, well edited, very well paced. I do think that the editing in particular is really good. I love the movie's use of like smash cuts,
and needle drops.
Yeah, honestly, well, that was one of the things that I was talking about with Ben in the car on the way back. I noticed in the credits. I don't know if this means anything to you, Cleve. Did you ever listen to the podcast Song Exploder, where like
I think I've caught an episode here or there.
Yeah, where it's like the premise is like every episode, like they have a musician
a video
on
component.
And they sort of. They might now. I don't know. I haven't listened to it in years.
They did a limited series on Netflix adapting it, actually.
That could be. But yeah, the premise is like they have a different artist on every week, and they sort of break down one specific song.
Did you have one with Thundercat where he breaks down that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I've seen that one.
There's a Thundercat one. One of my favorites from back in the day is the 106 Point Never one. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because the host of that podcast, Rishikesh Hirway, did the score for this movie, which was really bizarre. It's like I haven't listened to that podcast in years, and I knew that he was a musician, but I've never seen like his name in the credits of other movies before. I don't know if this is his first film credit or what, but like even so, I thought the score was like, I didn't think it was bad, but it was kind of invisible. Like it didn't like really like, it was never in the foreground that much that I can't like really bring any of it to mind. Like I can't think of any melodies or like themes from the score.
Yeah.
But
and I mean the needle drops
though, are very good.
That's the heart of the film. What I found to be so gratifying about the needle drops is, apart from the one where they're listening to it in the scene, like they bring it up on the classics like laser disc, and they're dancing like with each other. Apart from that one, like I found it to be like really confident uses of needle drops where they are actually inserted into the scene for their utility. And less so as like an advertisement, which is like just to me like how so many like Guardians of the Galaxy copycats and the rest like of these films like try to incorporate needle drops, or there's always like a big moment. Even in circumstances where I like it, like I like the use of a needle drop, like there's so much presence drawn to it that it's almost abstract from the thing itself. I think of like the John Wick movies where I love the needle drops. I love when they play Justice as he's going up the stairs, but like it almost stops the movie, like when they start playing Justice or Gustaffelstein or any of those sequences. But here, there's one in particular, like during the ambulance part towards the end, where they just bring in a needle drop, and it just like it just so like confidently like just is incorporated into the scene that there's no question about like why there's people singing or anything else like that. It just meshes in beautifully. I'm doing a poor job of describing it. It's sort of hard to describe, but there is just like a sort of like confidence I found with these. And of course,
Yeah.
It's
obviously,
something
all
we
themes
don't
about
really
love.
get as often anymore, in my opinion. Like, the art of a good needle drop is something that was so common in like the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah,
And we
It was
still
the
get
80s.
Yeah,
You know,
the 80s especially.
this movie, both thematically and also stylistically, reminds me of Kill Bill as well. In terms of the premise of the film is killing your ex-boyfriend, and again the use of like heavy needle drops throughout scenes and sequences.
Yeah, I can definitely see.
And they're both love letters to the 50s too.
I can definitely see some Tarantino influence on this. It's not like too over the top. Also, because which I think is good, because like Tarantino is kind of a singular type of filmmaker. But yeah, I mean, I like the sort of emphasis on like quippy, like snappy dialogue. The sort of like bursts of sudden over the top violence. Yeah, the needle drops, the sort of like visual and stylistic references to bygone decades and stuff. My favorite needle drop, because it got an actual, like, a true laugh out of me in the theater, is when like he has her tied up after she's murdered Sergei, and he's like, explaining to her that she's a robot and all this stuff, and she's like, I have all these memories and stuff, and like I'm going to college and visiting Japan and stuff like that. And he's like, no, those are just kind of like outlines to sort of like give you like a sense of having previously had a life or whatever. She's like, but that memory of us meeting in the grocery store, that was real. I remember it so vividly. He's like, nope, selected that from a drop down, totally manufactured, totally fake. Do you want to hear how we actually met? Yeah. And it smash cuts to like the company like showing up with her in a box at his apartment, and he's blasting the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. And it's such like a fucking hokey ass, like, I don't know. I feel like that song was just like fucking ever present when I was like 11 years old. You know what I mean? Just like always on the fucking radio. They always played it at like school dances and shit. It's just like such a hokey fucking corny ass song, and like absolutely what Jack Quaid would be listening to.
Speaking of Iris, like, I would have hated this in a more self-serious movie, but in this movie it works. Iris being Siri backwards.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. I'm glad that the movie never draws attention to that.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, one of my favorite things about this movie is how easy it was for me to decontextualize it from present day and all the dialogue around AI that I find to be deeply insufferable. The context of this movie is very modern. Like, the way Jack Quaid boots her up, it is amazing to see him like booting up his girlfriend like a phone for the first time. And just how objectified she is like quite clever. But it reminded me like why I always have been drawn to the concepts of like artificial intelligence and cyborgs and robots in film, and it was nice to like just engage with that fantasy again outside of modern context with all of the awful bullshit around AI and around like actual cyborg innovations and all that silly Elon Musk bullshit. And I was just very grateful to have that again and remind myself that like, no, these actual concepts, the idea of a robot that can think, that is actually autonomous and has passed like a legitimate Turing test, or I honestly almost prefer to use the void comp test because it's fiction, is gratifying. And like I was able to root for this character even though she is like an AI or whatever, because she's actually an AI. You know, unlike the snake oil bullshit that we're surrounded by in our modern stupid world.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because like for a movie that is ostensibly about like AI and kind of like secondarily about like what quote unquote makes us human or whatever, and like with an artificial intelligence, like what separates it from a real person, a quote unquote real person, it's like it treats that in such a, like, I don't know, non kind of preachy way that I feel like you don't see out of a lot of contemporary stuff, where like, especially in like horror and thriller movies, there's always a thing with like the AI being evil, you know, like it gains sentience and it decides that it wants to kill everybody, or that it's like hyper intelligent, or like it can think so much faster than people, so it's like it's so like good at outsmarting them or whatever. Whereas like you bring up the Voight-Kampff test, and it's like I feel like this movie sort of treats AI and like synthetic people in a very similar way that like Blade Runner does. Yeah. That like they are still just like people. You know, with people's wants and desires and feelings, and they're not these like cold, calculating, like emotionless machines. That they're not Skynet. You know, they're not a Frey-eyed.
Yeah, Sylvia Thatcher, I think, has so much credit towards this too. From the jump, understand that she's a sentient person and that her feelings are real. Right. And I think a lot of that just comes down to like her performance there. But Ben, you were gonna say something?
Like you mentioned, Cleve, like it's important to note that like the AI, you know, companions aren't evil in this movie necessarily. It's mostly about the unintended consequences of human action, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, and I think that's a smart kind of twist on a tired formula.
Yeah, also, well said. It's not the robots that are bad, it's the institution. And what I love about that is in this circumstance, like the way that people force themselves on her and her software and her programming and manipulate her are all an allegory of the patriarchy, and one I found to be not insufferable. I found it to be like really well, like thoughtfully handled.
Well, and beyond that too, like she's always like making these arguments for why she is, you know, real or whatever, and Jack Quaid's always like, no, that's your programming. It's your programming. And it's like the movie never makes like a super like heavy-handed point about it, but it's sort of like, okay, it's her programming, but what about that is intrinsically different from our own quote-unquote programming.
Our social
programming, all of like it's still just responses to stimuli, right? It's like responses to it's like how we respond to things that are happening around us, and that's like ultimately what she's doing. You know, they do some playing around with that, like having like the sliders on the app or whatever, which I do think I think all of that stuff is really fun. It's like she gets a hold of his phone and she's like going through the settings and she sees that she has him, or that he has her set to like 40% intelligence, and she's like, oh, Josh, and she like cranks it all the way up to 100 or whatever. But then they also are like, when there's the flashback where he's like talking with the company and they're like setting her up, it's like, obviously she's not, like, we can't make them superhuman strong or superhuman smart. Like 100% intelligence is like the equivalent of like an Ivy League grad.
There are laws against it, which I thought, yeah.
Right. And so it's like she cranks the intelligence up to 100, and it does make her like quicker and savvier, and like, it sort of enhances her planning ability, but it never feels like, she's not like seeing the code like in the Matrix, or it's not like A Beautiful Mind or like Rain Man or something where like the numbers are like flying in front of her. She's like doing these crazy calculations. It's like, I like that. I like that.
Me
It's
too,
not,
and I like too that they were
more
confident enough
tangible.
to have them say like, "Hey, like turning the slider all the way up is like an Ivy League graduate. It's not that big of a deal." And then when she turns the slider up, like we're experiencing this like through her lens, so to her it is a big deal, even still, right? Like they still do the pupil thing, and there's a huge sting and all the rest because it means so much to her, like in that moment, and I liked that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
To
Well,
me, the brilliant part about that is right after she is trying to figure out what to do. Like, she has run from the house, she is in the woods, and she games out these different scenarios in her head and ultimately picks one. For a sort of quote unquote genius robot, like the tired idea would be, oh, they automatically know what to do. So having her kind of
figuring out
reason
all of the
things,
lightning
it's
fast,
great
like
for...
just seeing all the scenarios play through all that simultaneously. It's like
and this choice is so great as well because it allows us to engage with her, and it just helps to create even more empathy with her character, which I like a lot, especially because her plan goes wrong. Like any good plan in a movie should.
The fun thing about it too is that like, even though bumping her intelligence slider up like doesn't make her like super intelligent, it's still like intelligent enough. It's like her plans, don't go off without a hitch, but even at, just like as they describe, like the intelligence level of like an Ivy League grad, that's still smarter than Jack Quaid. It's like, and that's all it needs to be. Is she's not like a super thinking machine, but she is smarter than him now, which is all that it needs to be. And I like that.
She still has to do a simulation of human reasoning, but it's much faster than it was before.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think this will segue nicely into Jack Quaid, because I want to talk about his character very much. I think we all do. There's a lot to talk about with him. But what I really love about the breakdown of the trope of his character that I haven't seen before is that he is... the films often take just a full stop at a character knowing anything computer-related, being a genius. And it's so refreshing to see like a tech bro hacky guy kind of illustrated to be the dingbat that most of them actually are, where like, yeah, he can jailbreak her. Like he makes enough money to like, afford like the super robot or whatever in his dingy little apartment. But at the end of the day, like, he really doesn't understand what he's doing all that much. And that is, for the most part, his stupidity is often his comeuppance. And I thought like him being like a hacker guy who's actually like really stupid was super entertaining to see in a film.
I did not get the impression that he was the one who actually hacked her, because he has it on a flash drive that he plugs into his phone.
I get the idea that he followed the steps on a Reddit post.
Maybe he followed the steps on a Reddit post, or that he bought it from somebody and they shipped it to him on a flash drive. So he just
even more lazy. I like that.
It's like
too,
I never got, like, we don't know what his job is per se, and he even mentions at one point that like he doesn't even own her; he rents her. Like you lease a car, because he can't afford to own her outright. So it's like, yeah, I don't get the impression that's where it like sort of varies from Ex Machina, where it's like there's the same kind of like ego, sort of controlling, like megalomaniacal quality to him that like Oscar Isaac has, but like in Ex Machina, it's like, Oscar Isaac created Ava, like he's like the brilliant programmer who has like designed this. She still outsmarts him in the end, but he is like a tech genius or whatever, and I don't get the impression that that's ever Jack Quaid. And I like that. Like, we never see him like sitting at his computer, like doing the hacker man bullshit. Like, he just has the thing to jailbreak her on his phone. He like plugs it into like the other guy's phone later, because there's that twist that we haven't addressed yet, which I will say I did call this one myself. I didn't vocalize it out loud, but I did see this one coming. It's revealed that Lucas Gage is also an android. That Harvey Guillen has also paid for a companion bot for himself. But I actually, even though I did kind of see it coming, I do really love the scene where they do that twist, because it's like they found Sergei's big safe behind, this big picture. And they're like looking at all the stacks of money. Iris has escaped at this point, so they have to sort of like let Harvey Guillen in on this whole thing, and they're like, okay, well, we'll split it 3 ways. We'll split the cash 3 ways. Like, we'll cut you in. And he's like, no, 4, because there's the 2 of you, there's me, and his boyfriend Patrick. And they're like, no, we're doing a 3-way split. You know why we're not going to do a 4-way split? And it's like they start arguing about it, and then all of a sudden Harvey Guillen's just like, Patrick, go to sleep, and then his eyes go white, and that's sort of like that. Oh, he's a robot
because the irony is, like, the dumber audience member, a la me, because I didn't see this coming because I was stupid. I was thinking, oh well, yeah, they're not cutting. Like, they're not splitting it 4 ways because, like, they're a couple. Like it would, just go to,
right.
either of the one of them. And so the dialogue for the dramatic irony is great, like, across the board, because, like, it's always, like, nicely stacked.
Well, yeah,
and believably so. Like, you really buy it. Like, it's great.
And yeah, no, like, you're absolutely right. It's like, if you're not keyed into that, like, it does just say, it's like, yeah, we're not splitting it 4 ways because you're a couple. So it's like, you get to, keep.
And also,
one
they
share.
did all the legwork, right? Like,
right.
They're
So,
basically just convenient witnesses, and that's about it.
That makes sense, but I do think that they do some nice little things to sort of foreshadow that reveal, because they, he has a similarly very corny meet cute story with the 2 of them being like a Halloween party, and like Harvey Guillen is like in a T-Rex costume, and Lucas Gage is standing on his tail, and then they do like the little fucking like dance at the end there. I like the way they bring that back later when Jack Quaid reprograms Lucas Gage to love link with him instead.
It's the perfect rule of 3. There's like this movie is just like so full of like perfect rule of 3 like setups. Because the first time it's described is just verbally at the dinner table as 2 couples just chatting about how they met. Then later it's shown to us for the reality that it is, and then they spin it later, and it's funny every time. Like, I really love that. Replacing it with Jack Quaid when it was really that's one of the points where I was definitely
they do a good job kind of setting you up for it without overplaying their hand, I think. I think one scene that works really well kind of building that theme is Iris is talking to Megan Surrey's character, who we haven't mentioned really, but it was great to see her too. After
what is she in?
It Lives Inside. She's the lead in that.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah. It's great to see more of her. I think she was great here. But Iris pulls her aside and asks her if she doesn't like her. And Megan Surrey essentially talks about how, like, she's, a commodity essentially for Sergei, rather than feeling like a whole person. Like, she has to wear what he wants, eat what he wants, do what he wants, and
talk what he wants. And then she's like, but it's like, yeah, but look who I'm talking to.
Yeah, well, it does a great job setting up the companion theme there, but it also plays a little bit of a smokescreen, right? Because, like, we basically know she's a person. So, like, you're expecting Lucas Gage to also kind of be a person. Right. So, yeah, that rug pull, I think, is effective. And again, I think that would have been one where, like, if we weren't primed for Android from the trailer, it would have been a little harder to spot.
No, I agree with you completely, because I think it was because they reveal the android thing in the trailer and we know that Sophie Thatcher's an android that I was kind of looking for the quote unquote actual twist. I think if I had not gone in knowing that and there had been like the actual reveal that Sophie Thatcher's an android, then the possibility of Lucas Gage being an android I don't think would have crossed my mind at all.
I really
Um,
love that dialogue between the two women and how like you understand that from the top, like she doesn't really hate her because she's a robot. She hates her like because she's a patriarchal threat, right? And it's how like the patriarchy pits women against each other. And it's why like I get the vibe that she has less of a problem with the other. And I thought that was cool. Like,
well, she says, because like Iris starts the conversation being like Kat, do you do you not like me? And she says like, it's not that I don't like you, it's that I don't like the idea of you. And I think that it's because then she follows that up with talking about how she is essentially the equivalent of a companion bot for Sergey, like you talked about. You know, it's like she is, you know, like she even says like a fancy car, you know, basically. So her saying that she hates the idea of Iris for what she is, being like a sex bot, basically. I think the nice layer to that conversation, she hates the idea of her because she recognizes the parallel between herself as a real person and this what she sees as a thing that is built specifically for men to jerk off into, basically. And then
more
she
human than human.
right, and that she resents that they are effectively the same.
Yeah.
Like I think that is that whole conversation is a really really nice little kind of more subtle than a lot of the rest of the themes of the movie, I think, sort of interplay. I dig that.
But I can relate like a little bit through a modern lens of like if someone introduced an AI that I think actually could like replace me as an artist, I'd also probably try to kill it like as soon as I could.
Sure.
Like I so it's certainly relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's great. It's really solid.
Another fun character actor who showed up that I liked is the sheriff's deputy who shows up. That's a really fun scene where Iris is like on the run. Well, she steals Josh's car, which, oh man, that's another really fun scene because it's like a Tesla or whatever, and it's got like voice activated start and it won't recognize her voice. So he's like trying to break in. So she's like playing with her voice settings on the app to try to make it mimic Josh's voice so the car will start. That's a really fun, tense scene.
Like Cleve said, that's another great rule of threes, right? Fiddling with her own settings. First one being upping her intelligence, second being, you know, changing her voice, and then the third one being changing her language setting.
Yeah, so that's the scene I'm getting to. So she gets away.
Yeah,
she's,
great setup, great payoff.
You know, she's driving down the road and the car stops because we see Josh has been able to get into Sergey's phone and calls and reports the car stolen, so the computer like stops it and locks her in. And you know, she kicks out the window, but right as she does, the cop that they had called earlier pulls up and gets out of the car. And this is another character actor performance I want to mention. My boy fucking Mark Menchaca. Always like to see him. He's the villain in we did No One Gets Out Alive a few years ago, and also pretty prominent role in The Outsider, which is a really excellent show.
Yes, it's very good in that.
Yeah, he's always fun. I'm always happy to see him. But yeah, they do. So she can't tell a lie. That's kind of a whole thing about her programming. She can't lie. She goes into her settings and she changes her language to German. So he asks her all these questions and she's telling him the truth, but she's speaking them in German so he can't understand.
I like their play on like the laws of robotics. where it's like, oh, she's not supposed to do harm, but she got jailbroke, so like she can do harm, but she can't lie. Is really like a fun play on that.
They
whole
wouldn't.
It gets all my like D&D like little like neurons firing. It's just a fun like little set of rules, and they play them out like so gratifyingly. Here, where she's like, yeah, she switches to German, so he's asking her like, what happened? Where did you come from? And she's like, yeah, I stabbed a guy to death. But she's saying it all in German, so he's like, oh yeah, you sound like you're in distress.
Yeah. This is a very minor thing, but I do kind of wish they had gotten Sophie Thatcher a dialogue coach for this scene, because I do think her German is quite bad. And like, if that was a bit, that would be one thing, but it's not a bit, and it's like if they're changing her language settings and she's like a machine, I feel like her German should be better.
You might as well just have a different person ADR her at that point. I mean, she's a robot. It's okay if the voice is different.
Yeah, totally. That's a way to do it too. I mean, she would still have to, if they ADR, she would still have to speak the lines, but like, yeah, I mean, you could just have another actor come in and do better pronunciations on top, but also it's like, it's one scene. Just get
I'm your average dumb American.
Just get her a dialogue coach.
Yeah, in this respect, I'm your average dumb American who doesn't encounter
coach.
Like people speaking German all that often. I had Austrian neighbors growing up as a kid, but like apart from that, like I don't watch much German television or like have much like association with the language. So I thought it was pretty good, but that's because I don't.
Yeah, like I said, and I think for most people, it's probably not a big deal. That's why I said it's like a minor thing, but it annoyed.
I agree with your solutions, though.
It annoyed me. It annoyed me. It's like, look, if I go into my fucking phone and I change my Siri language to Mandarin or whatever, it's gonna speak like pretty perfect Mandarin, right? So like they should do the same. They should do the same thing for the sex bot. That's all I'm saying. But
that's all right. I'm personally okay with seeing the strings a little bit on it. Like,
yeah, I don't really.
This is a case where I'm glad they didn't pull a brutalist and just AI to fix her bad dialect.
And AI
choice between the two. Fuck.
Fuck that
they did it right.
Yeah, I would rather have her fucking sound it all out phonetically with somebody holding the script in front of her face, rather than them fucking use AI to adjust her pronunciation. Fuck that shit.
Anything.
Can we talk about the twist of Lucas Gage's aggression?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because I think that's a great example of like their plans going terribly wrong and dealing with the unintended consequences of their half thought out actions.
Yeah, this movie is a classic comedy of errors.
Yes.
Because we'd already talked about Lucas Gage getting like factory reset because Iris kills Harvey Guillen, and that sort of like makes Lucas Gage basically go like comatose. So Jack Quaid resets him and love links with him. So he's in love with Jack Quaid. So he'll do whatever he says, and he jailbreaks him the same way to, turn up his aggression and all that. He like sends her after Iris, and he kills the deputy. Yeah, all of the Terminator. Yeah, exactly. He plays
uniform and everything. It's great.
Yeah, he plays the T-1000 here. Yeah, so he kills the deputy, takes them back, and then the other friend is like trying to leave, is like bailing out. Jack Quaid is basically like stop her from leaving, and so Lucas Gage just like walks up behind her and just like stabs her in the back with a knife, because like his aggression is turned up to 100%. So like that's the most effective way to stop her. That's another moment where Jack Quaid's just like, oh fuck, that's not what I meant. He's like, well, you said stop her.
Like, I love that too, because like it's clear that like that's going to go wrong like from the setup, and it's just so gratifying when it does. It's their level of buffoonery with like crazy grandiose payoffs like is pretty like home. Oh, God, I sound so. Maybe I should be using such modern vernacular, but it's Home Alone core. Like, like just seeing these utter dipshits just have like the worst pratfalls for their sins is just it's a treat. It's just a real treat in this film.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it makes it easier for Iris to triumph ultimately, is because it's not like she becomes like super intelligent. It's just that all of these people that she's dealing with are fucking oafs. It's like they're all fucking buffoons. Like none of their plans actually go off like they're supposed to. Because like when the later on when the technicians show up to like collect Iris because he lowered her intelligence to 0 and then made her shoot herself in the head, and it's like, okay, it's over, call the technicians to come in, and he tells them, it's like, oh yeah, she went crazy and killed all these people or whatever, and they're like oh yeah, that's crazy, man. That we'll load her into the truck and we'll review the footage and everything, and it'll be, we'll figure out what went wrong. He's like, wait, what, the footage? It's like, oh yeah, legal reasons, like fraud prevention, like everything that she sees is like stored in her memory banks, and we can like go back and review the footage like if we need to. It's like, well, she like blew her brain out, so like is any of that even recoverable? And they're like, oh no, that's just like her Wi-Fi antenna up there. Like all her SSD and stuff is like low. It's like in her like stomach. So like, yeah, all we got to do is just go back and plug her in and boot her back up. It'll be okay. And Jack Quaid is just like that moment of realization where he's like, I
love it too, because like I think if and that scene too, it ends with them like carting her back out to the van, and Jack Quaid has stayed inside, and it's just the two technicians talking to each other, and they're like, well, yeah, he totally did it, right? Like, this guy's a fucking moron. And
one of them's like the newer tech, and he's like, what do you think? Like, do you think it's like some kind of glitch? And like the more experienced tech is like, no, dude, he totally he modded her. This dude's fucked.
It's like you can really tell that like I don't know, to me like that could also like be a potential twist, but I think like if you've worked in the service industry in any capacity, you can read that actor like from the beginning like doesn't buy any of Jack Quaid's shit, and it's really funny. Like,
dude,
I think we've all had that experience where we've been talking to a customer like, oh yeah, that's terrible. Like, oh yeah, we'll get on that right away, and then just like the customer's like, oh my god, what a fucking
I mean, dude, that's literally my job now. Like I do software tech support. So it's like all the time I have people come in, it's like, the software's broken, blah blah blah. It's like, you need to fix this bug, and I'm just like, no, you did something. What did you do? What did you do? And it's like I go poking around for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, nah. Look at what you fucked this up. You broke your shit. I didn't.
What they say, the customer is always stupid.
Yeah, the customer's always stupid. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, no, that little moment was really great. He's like, oh no, he modded her. This dude is fucked.
This guy's so screwed.
He's so fucking stupid. But then, Jack Quaid sets Lucas Gage. At this point, he's dressed in the cop uniform, so it's very like Terminator reminiscent, like y'all said. And he sicks them on, or sicks him on those guys and kills one of them, and goes chasing the other one off into the woods.
It's so funny when like he drives back in the cop car, and they're like, what?
Oh yeah. And he like goes into
them open the trunk and be like, "Oh my god, he killed a cop!" Like,
yeah.
Well, it's like he goes into the trunk and pulls Sophie Thatcher out. It's like, what's happened to, or like, where's the deputy? He's like, oh, he's in the trunk, and they go and look in the trunk. It's like, with his fucking skull caved in.
If I remember right, we don't actually see the skull caved in until later either.
No, it's really, I really love that payoff.
Yeah,
because we see him like actively do it to the guy, but then when they go to check, we don't see it. Yeah, which I like.
Well, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't see it until this part where the other tech is like running through the woods being chased by Lucas Gage, and he like trips and falls like into like sort of like a pit where all of the bodies are, and he just like lands basically like face to face with the deputy who doesn't really have a face anymore.
Classic horror movie trope too, like
I was just
falling
like,
into the pit of evil is like always fun.
it's just like seeing all of the people who have been killed by this totally fucking stupid harebrained scheme. It's just like,
Incompetence. They've all died to incompetence.
yeah, seeing like the pile of bodies that stupidity has caused at this point is very very satisfying. Sophie Thatcher like reboots herself and like takes a cattle prod, and she sort of like convinces Lucas Gage that he has been like reprogrammed, and he sort of like is able to tap into like the old memories of him and Harvey Guillen, and sort of, you know, he kills himself by jamming the cattle prod like in his mouth and like frying his circuits or whatever. And so Sophie Thatcher goes back inside to have her final confrontation with Jack Quaid. They sort of tussle, and man, I kind of just expected that she would just like shoot him or maybe like stab him or something, but man, we get such a fucking fun, creative, like primo death for Jack Quaid. And again, like you're holding your fingers up for the people who aren't watching the video. Fucking rule of threes. She kills Jack Quaid with the electric corkscrew that we've seen
set up twice before in the scene, and it always punctuates moments in a scene when they're opening a wine bottle, and there's this thing, because it's like a cybernetic corkscrew. I've seen like these in real life, but
yeah,
like,
these exist.
These exist, but like they don't make like the cyber sound that this one does, I think, and like it has like a pneumatic pop at the end of it that's very gratifying. I love this. I love that, like, yeah, we get to see it twice beforehand. It's like it's really in your memory, because we don't see her like reaching for it in the scene. It's not set up in that scene at all in terms of its location, unless I missed something, which possibly it was like knocked over in the background.
He throws her across the dinner table in this scene.
So it's like
sitting there.
like
Presumably
the
it was there
night.
when she grabbed it, or it got knocked off the table and landed. So it's like there, you know, it doesn't just sort of like magically appear in the scene. But yeah, I don't.
Right amount.
Yeah, they don't really telegraph it too much, but yeah, she like grabs that and jams it into his head, and it like drills into his skull, and then boop, pops out.
Like each of his eyes go red and turn. Like it's really well done.
I love that part of it is clear too, so you can see it fill up with blood a little bit as it drills into him. That's a nice little detail.
And when it pops out, it comes with like some little shards of bone and bits of brain. Really nice, because like, I mean, you know, Jack Quaid is great at playing a pathetic, sleazy, like schizoid kind of character, and so you really like to see him get his comeuppance here. It's really nice. This is the end of the movie. We get basically Sophie Thatcher repeats her monologue from the beginning. We see her, she's like taking a shower, and while she's in the shower, she pulls off the burned skin, quote unquote, skin of her arm from when he had her hold her hand over the candle, which didn't really talk about, but it's in the trailer. And so she reveals like the Terminator hand underneath, which is a nice, fun animatronic.
Yeah, like her wound, her scar in this movie ends up being like the coolest thing. Like she comes out of the movie with sentience and a sick robot arm. Like, and in this like distant future or near future like scenario, like there's probably other people with prosthetic limbs and stuff like that, so she'll probably blend in just fine.
Yeah, well, it has a great little payoff in the mid credits, because after this she gets dressed, she takes all the money, she hops in the Mustang or whatever and drives off down the road. The credits roll, and then we get a little mid credit scene where she's driving and she drives past another car and looks over, and it's another of the same model companion bot. So it's Sophie Thatcher.
Yeah.
But she's blonde and she's like really dolled up with like a bunch of makeup, and there's like some, middle-aged like white dude in a suit in the car next to her or whatever. But they make eye contact, and our Iris, our Sophie Thatcher, like raises up her robot arm and waves at the other one, and the other Sophie Thatcher kind of like looks at her as like, oh shit, what? It's like one thing we hadn't mentioned is like there is in the scene earlier where Lucas Gage admits to Harvey Guillen that he knew he was a robot, that he like worked it out himself a while ago, but he doesn't really have a problem with it because like he still like the feelings still matter, even though
real
he
to
knows
him.
they're not. Yeah, they're real to him, exactly. So there's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, these robots they are capable of sort of figuring out the nature of their own existence. So that is that kind of that nice little feeling that by sort of like revealing her robot arm to the other Sophie Thatcher, that's kind of like that plants the seed, to maybe sort of spread the companion bot revolution or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a sort of ending that is a little messy when you think about it too hard, but it's very fun. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter ultimately.
Yeah, I don't care.
Fun
Yeah,
mess.
what were the other points you wanted to hit, Cleve?
The first one I wanted to touch back on is the idea of like what you do when you develop sentience. Like, and her reaction is to obtain freedom. She's made her escape, and Jack Quaid calls her to try and bring her back. And she breaks up with him over the phone. And one of my favorite ways to reinforce just how pathetic he is that his sex bot is breaking up with him. It's just so funny.
Look on his face.
They literally say it.
Because he realized that, like, the look on his face, he's like, wait, what is happening? Are you breaking up with me? It's like, is my sex robot breaking up with me? And she gives him the classic, like, it's not you, it's me line.
That shit was really funny. And so I love that, like, yeah, like, as she kind of develops her sentience, she finds herself, she finds her voice, and, we find it with her, and then she makes her escape into the world a free person. Whereas the other robot, when it develops sentience, so the first time it develops sentience in that context, it has acceptance for its situation. It doesn't feel the need to take agency. It's happy with the fantasy or the dream that it's in. But the next time he wakes it up, when his dream has been destroyed, his first reaction is, I don't want to be in this anymore, and just kills himself. It's like, just immediate cattle prod to the mouth. Like, just doesn't. It's like, oh, I am sentient, and I don't want to be here. And, like, I don't like it.
Inside you, there are two wolves.
Yeah, inside you are two wolves, and they're both in pain. And I like that too. That, like, when he's asked to describe, you touched on it at the beginning of the episode, but like when he's asked to describe his love, he's like, it's a burning pain. And it's true. Yeah. Like I've been in love. Like it does hurt almost. And it's really what a cool way to describe that. So I thought that was sick. My other thing I have to mention is it's been done before in movies, but I think it's one of the best executions I've seen of it, where it's a sweet scene, it's romantic, they're dancing to some really lovely music, and then it's just a heavy cut to Jack Quaid, like, in our face, like, mid-orgasm, and it's just, like... like, it's so gross. And he's so... Yeah. And it's just, like... Again, just one of those things that, like, I think, like, yeah, just great way to just, develop even more sympathy for our characters. It's just like, oh my god, he's awful. He's just the worst.
Yeah, well, I like that scene because, like, he rolls off of her and just, like, pretty much immediately falls asleep, and she's, like, still trying to talk to him or whatever as he turns the light off, and then he's just, like, already half asleep. He's like, Iris, go to sleep. And the scene cuts there. And this is, like, before the reveal that she's a robot. So in the scene, it just comes off as him, like, being... like, rude and dismissive and just being like, I'm not trying to talk, go to sleep. And then it adds context later. It's like, no, he's like, he got his nuts. He's literally just shutting her off for the night, just powering her down. Yeah, it's nasty shit.
really great stuff. And too, like, I think Jack Quaid is the best. He's a lot of fun, and I find him to be like very earnestly charismatic and likable. And in all the other appearances I've seen, like from The Boys, or even like recently, he was like on Red Letter Media, which was kind of cool. But
yeah, that's been fun to see. I don't know. I'm not totally sold on him, but I did like him a lot in this. I frankly, I feel like I tend to like him when he's playing villains. Like I like him in Scream 5 a lot.
he's great in that, yeah.
He's in. Cuz like I don't know, he's so good at being that kind of like nice guy with a skeezy like underbelly, you know. It's kind of a typecast thing for him, but I think I was talking to Ben about this in the car when we were coming back from the movies sometime in the past couple of weeks. But it's like I would like to see him in like a drama, like a real like drama, and sort of like see what his like dramatic acting chops are like, because I do sort of feel like he always plays like kind of similar roles, and I would like to see what he's capable of outside of this type of role, you know. But he's good here. He's good.
Yeah,
here.
he is good here.
Honestly, the whole cast is great. I'm glad that Sophie Thatcher is actually in like an actually good movie.
Yeah, like, I mentioned that in the car to you. Like, I have enjoyed Sophie Thatcher in like everything I've seen, and like she's been like the standout thing in a lot of movies she's been in. But like most of the other things she's been in haven't super impressed me. Like, I wasn't crazy about Yellow Jackets or Heretic. Like, they were fine, but you know. She's great in here, and I'm glad the movie is great as well.
Yeah, time to rate. I mean, there's obviously other stuff in the movie, but at a certain point, it's like, you know, just see it for yourself. I think it's a resounding recommendation from all of us. Ben, why don't you start?
Sure. Yeah. Well, this movie, like I said before, it's a little shallow, and it doesn't, you know, have me like vibrating by the end quite like Barbarian did, for example. But much like Barbarian, it did keep me on the edge of my seat. It was very unpredictable, very fun, very funny, great cast. Yeah, really good time. I'm gonna give it a strong 4 out of 5. I would definitely recommend it.
Leaf?
It feels like the right rating to me. I didn't really mention other than my joke at the beginning, but I think that this film, to kind of amen what Ben was saying, like has a great understanding of what's come before as well. Like it knows what it's referencing, whether it's the Terminator or again even Ghost in the Shell has like a lot of similar philosophical themes, or just any, you know, like first and second wave feminism, like era writing, like it's great. It works quite well for all of that, and I think because it understands what it's coming from before, it's more respectful about not trying to act like it's reinventing the wheel too. There's a lot of confidence that comes with that, where it's like, we know the story's been told before, we're going to tell it well, and it feels more like a love letter because of that. So yeah, I really liked it. I don't have any critiques for it. I didn't feel like I want more out of the movie either, and I probably will like possibly lower my rating in future. I think that's why I say, like, I think Ben's rating is the correct one, but for my personal rating, I'm just gonna go ahead and slap a 5 on that bad boy. I liked it a lot, and I want to watch it again, like, immediately. It was a treat.
Yeah, treat. I'm gonna mirror Ben with a 4. That feels right to me for basically the same reason. It's like, yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily like, I don't have any serious critiques with this movie, but it also doesn't quite do enough to like elevate it to the level of a 5 for me. It doesn't feel like it's like, it doesn't feel like it has anything necessarily original to say or like breaking any sort of like new ground or anything, but tight script, great cast, very fun, very engaging, not boring at all, very entertaining. So, I don't need it to be more elevated than that. Like I said, for me, this is very much kind of like a B movie version of Ex Machina, and I think that's fine. Like, I'm not always in the mood for the tone of Ex Machina. Sometimes I want something a little bit sweeter, and I think that this is the answer to that. So yeah, strong 4 out of 5 for me as well, which will give us an average of 4.3 out of 5 for companion. And I think our highest average rating of 2025 theatrical releases so far across the podcast. So yeah, check it out next week, and then we'll get into predictions. But next week we're going back to the movies again, like Cleveland mentioned. Unfortunately, sounds like won't be able to join us for that, but we're going to see Heart Eyes, Valentine's Day horror slasher. Will it be good?
Looks fun. I'm jealous.
After the second trailer, I'm a little bit more excited for it than I was previously, but who's to say? It looks like a holiday themed slasher movie. So
I want to bet that Companion was originally going to come out for Valentine's Day, and they probably moved it up a little bit because of Heart Eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it'll be in theaters on Valentine's Day, and I think this is a fun little Valentine's Day rug pull for an unexpected audience.
A Valentine's double feature.
Yeah.
So yeah, come join us next week and stay in the spirit of love, and we'll see how our review of Hard Eyes is. But yes, let's get to some business. We have 2 films worth of prediction results that we need to cover. We did not do our Wolfman predictions last week because Cleve was with us, so we need to do that, and we got to do prediction results for Presents. So Ben,
yes,
without further ado,
we have a full slate here. So I'll start with Wolfman. We'll start with box office. So I predicted this movie would do $15 million opening weekend. Cleve, you predicted 50 million, 50, and Tisu predicted 18 million. Opening weekend, it did 10.8 million. So I got that one just by lowballing.
Did the Invisible Man do like gangbusters? That must be why I gave it that.
Justification too, if I remember correctly. You were like, Invisible Man did awesome, so this one's probably going to be a breakout hit too. But unfortunately, not. So next is Rotten Tomatoes Tomato Meter, the critics one. I predicted 86. Cleve, you predicted 85. And Tisu predicted 88. Currently, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at a 52.
Oh.
Sheesh.
I can't believe that
right.
Tisu's prediction was a Nazi dog whistle. What the fuck, man?
I know. I can't believe he is a dog man, kind of. So, dog whistle.
Ooh. There you go.
Yeah, no, I can't believe I guessed the Hitler number and then I was wrong. God damn it.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Egg on my face, bro. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, next we have Rotten Tomatoes audience predictions. I predicted 83. Cleve predicted 80. And Tisu predicted 82. Currently, the popcorn meter is sitting at a 57. So slightly higher than critics, but still pretty low.
Honestly, a surprising delta on those. I feel like it's rare to see the critics and the audience so closely aligned.
Yeah, both of them
and they're both
it's pretty rotten.
And they're both wrong. What's next?
Miscellaneous predictions. I said there's going to be a sequel setup showing that there's more Wolfmen out there. They did show that there's multiple Wolfmen, but it didn't really set up a sequel. So.
I was going to say that was just in the movie.
Yeah. Cleve, you said Wolf Woman?
I was wrong.
Damn.
That would be more interesting than anything they did, honestly.
I guess, what is it? Is that what Ginger Snaps is about? I don't know. I should probably watch that movie.
You should have
It's
gone.
a good movie. We should cover it.
Yeah.
That's why they named the daughter character Ginger in the movie. It's a Ginger Snaps reference.
Oh, that's cool.
They should have done Wolf Child, but anyway.
TC said this will be successful enough to greenlight the third entry in Lee Winnell's quote-unquote man trilogy.
I don't know what was right on that one. We'll just have to see.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
Mummy
successful
has been,
enough,
but that's not a man. That's just
what?
I mean, it is a man, but it's not it's not in the name. It's not Mummy Man.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't think
know Lee Winnell is not doing it, but it is in that sphere of.
They're trying to
universe, but it's like they're just doing all the Universal monsters.
I mean, Blumhouse is basically trying to do its own dark universe at this point.
If Lee Winnell really wants to do a man trilogy, he should do a remake of The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yes, I agree.
That would be really great, actually.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I think the difference, is it's not. If they don't connect them, it's not a universe. They're just doing movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a series. They're doing, like, you could maybe call it a series, right? But, like, unless like Elizabeth Moss shows up in one of these films again, which, God, I hope they don't do that.
Well, we don't. That's the thing. Is we don't know that these don't take place in the
They should link them together in the same way they linked together the original one, and that's by doing an Abbott and Costello movie.
Oh,
yeah. Let's bring Abbott and Costello back from the dead.
Yeah.
Let's get Disney on the phone to do some AI homunculi of Abbott and Costello, some fucking like Hall of Presidents style animatronics, and then
This is the thing from my nightmares. I hate this. I hate this so much. Get it out of here. Stop.
No, just get another fat guy. Honestly, get Stav to do.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stavi meets the Wolfman and Invisible Woman.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Next prediction set was Presents. We'll start with box office. I predicted 6 million. Cleve, you predicted 8 million. TCU predicted 3 million. Opening weekend, it did 3.3 million.
Ooh, yeah.
Very close.
Nice.
Very, very close. Rotten Tomatoes critics, the tomato meter, I predicted 89. Cleve, you predicted 95. And TCU predicted 84. Right now, it's sitting at 88. So another dog whistle here.
I should have predicted the Hitler number for that one. Fuck.
Well, I get that one away. I'll take it. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes audience, I predicted 75. Cleve, you also predicted 75. And Tisu predicted 60. Right now, the popcorn meter is sitting at a 55.
No.
So, you get that one for sure.
I'm okay losing out on all these Presents ones because I didn't have to endure the film. So I think you got
true. You didn't.
Fine. Miscellaneous predictions. I said there won't be any kills in this movie. I was wrong. I'll take the L there. But I was almost correct, in fairness.
Yeah. There were not many kills.
Yeah. Cleve, you said society is the real ghost, and in parentheses you said I didn't watch the trailer. You also didn't watch the movie, so that works well.
But you're on. But you're kind of on though. Kinda.
Yeah. There's you're the real ghost of the podcast, right?
Yeah,
for that episode.
Cleveland was the presence.
Yeah, you're right. There you go. That's good. Yeah, I have to be a vicarious listener instead.
Yeah. And then Tisu said, despite being marketed as a horror movie, this will be light on scares and will actually turn out to be a slow, deliberately paced meditation on grief and death that will be critically beloved, but general audiences will find abysmally boring. And I think
Fucking
you're kind of spot
nailed
on.
that.
Yeah.
Nailed that. That is 100% correct. I fucking got that to the goddamn letter. Fucking call me. I'm Podstradamus now, boys.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, well,
I wish I was wrong. I really did not enjoy my time with that movie. I would like to be wrong. But whatever.
yeah, well, it seems like audiences agreed with you. Critics didn't, but
Yeah.
audiences.
Well, I even guessed that critics wouldn't, so
Yeah.
that's okay. If that was that's like that's like an Uncut Gems like 6-way parlay kind of deal. I would have hit on that one and then been shot in the head for my hubris and arrogance. But anyway, I think that's it. That'll do it for us. That'll bring us to the end of this week's episode. If you like the show, you know the deal. Leave us a rating, a review, leave us a comment on Spotify if that's where you listen. Leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts if that's where you listen. That'll help us get into more people's fucking feeds. More people listening to the show is a good thing, right? So do that. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can always join our Patreon at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. $3 a month will get you the videos of the episodes, the raw, uncut shit. $5 a month will get you that, plus Discord access. And $10 a month will let you pick movies for us to talk about. And all of the above. So do that. Shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. Y'all are the best. We appreciate you. Y'all are the ones that we do it for. And last but not least, of course, follow us on Letterboxd, Pod People Podcast on there, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. I don't have like a super good like thematic recommendation this week, so I'm just gonna recommend Ex Machina. If you want a movie about a good movie about artificial intelligence and how much tech bros fucking suck shit, it's a good one. It's probably still my favorite Alex Garland movie. I won't say thing because that's devs, but
I'll keep it thematic. Robots. I've been playing Titanfall 2. That's a pretty good game, gotta say.
Dude, that kicks ass.
Movement shooting is great. Fun dialogue in there and some really great level design. Super fun game so far.
Undo.
Yeah, glad you're enjoying it. That is just such a fucking banger of a game. I thought it towards the beginning of the episode. I thought I had a good parallel, and I thought, oh, that'll be a great recommendation, but I can't for the life of me recommend it. So I'm just gonna do Ghosts in the Shell. Like just watch it again if you've seen it. Like it's a great movie. There's just all those ideas about like memories being implanted in your head and not being real. Like it plays with those concepts, and it's fucking sick. Like yeah, love that. Love some neo noir, some cyber noir. It's my fucking jam.
Quick lightning round. What's everybody's favorite